Good morning. And maybe I'll turn this way, get a little bit better light for you. That's better. Well, it's Thursday morning. The week's almost over again. The countdown to Halloween is upon us. And this year it's been fairly quiet. But, we'll see how things go. And the weekend could be a little bit more excitement. So, boo! Yeah, I know that was stupid. Grab your cup of coffee, tea, pop, whatever you like. Sit back, relax, and we'll just get going with our little chat. Yeah, well, maybe some things you'll enjoy, some things you may not. Be right back. Okay, so Megyn Kelly has, she hasn't got in trouble, but in the eyes of the Republicans, she has got in trouble, and saying that she's fascinated with sex. And A, as a reporter, she has a right to find out the information, and B, as a woman and as a voter, two more steps. She's three things that she has a right to ask. Is Donald Trump a predator? And they keep trying to bring up Bill Clinton and how much say he's a predator, and and this is from a Fox News station, and you can't keep getting people upset when people ask you questions you don't like. Now, Dana Bash from CNN asked a question of Trump, and he just walks away. What this sort of tells me is that they are very negative against women. And it's kind of like, well, in years past, I don't have to answer this. We can do whatever we want. It tells me it's the same philosophy that has been around for years, but men have always just had the right to do whatever they want to women. Women were only there for two things: to clean house and to get, just don't want to use the term on the... But where do things stop? I thought 2016 was going to be a fair year for women. But, with only 20% of the House, or was it 20% of Congress, I think either both, were only women, it's not going to change. It's not going to change till more women get elected. And I think it's stupid and idiotic that issues come forward. Now, they want to keep talking about Hillary Clinton's emails and how she handled that and how that would affect her in her term as president. But yet, the sexual antics of a past or a candidate for president doesn't bode well. He can't let it go either. I'm sure the Democrats have been actually very high about this and allowing people to come up with their own solutions, but Trump keeps bringing it up. I'm sure if he didn't bring it up, it would probably have died down. There's no new women coming forward. The last one was the porn star, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be negative and call her a porn star, even if she is. It's irrespective. She gave her consent to have sex, and it happened to be video. Just because she does that does not mean she has gives everyone consent. And again, people, irregardless, need to speak up. And I'm glad these women did speak up. And in fact, this morning while I was watching things and so on, I came across the Lady Gaga playing on the Oscars, and it's all about sexual. What's the word? That people take advantage of them, and the number of people, men and women, came forward. So when Donald Trump says no, he's never touched anyone like that, then I think we have to open it up. And I think we have to say, you said no, you didn't, but you touched me, and then he attacks the women, and we all seem to think that that's okay, that women have a right to be victimized in that sort of way. No, it didn't happen, and it didn't happen because I didn't say it happened, and oh, well, she's a porn star, so she gave her consent. That's ridiculous. No one has the right to hurt another person. And just because they're a woman doesn't mean that you have the right to attack that person. But we keep wanting to do it. And, this time, and say Bill Clinton's a predator. Well, and he will be in the East Wing. You know what? Bill Clinton is not running. I am sorry how much you really want him to be running so you can persecute him all over. It's Hillary Clinton who's up for the presidency. And when the Clintons were elected last time, no one took pot shots at his wife. And this was before she became senator and everything. And if there was anything in the background, no one took pot shots. I think, two things have to change in the States. Number one, you have to change how you deal with men and women. That women should be treated fairly. It's as simple as that. Number two is you need to scrap the two-party system. Nothing could be probably better sorry, I keep seeing my hair up there. If there was a third party. And I'm talking like a real party. The Libertarians and Jill Stein. I don't know who Jill Stein is running for. Yes, they're a third party, but everyone is, I'm Republican. I'm Democrat. And any position you want, you have to declare whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. And this polarization doesn't really work. Now, in Canada, we have to vote on a single person to represent an area, then the number of people of the certain party choose who the leader is, and that leader becomes the prime minister. And if something comes up that the prime minister doesn't really do his or her job, the party can vote to oust him, or in your language down there, impeach. But I think that Trump, even though he's catching up in the polls, I think he really has to stop this negative approach. And enough is enough. And, I had to turn it off today. I got so sick. And, him making up things about Megyn Kelly on how she's just fascinated with sex. She isn't. She's trying to find out for women. He could find a better relationship with women and women voters. But instead, he just keeps bringing it up. And, oh, yes, how great it was. If at first, way back when, came out and said he's truly sorry and everything, that would have been fine. But instead, at the end of it, he started fighting, or not fighting, but bringing up, well, Bill Clinton did worse. And, that's just comparization. We have to ensure that women are treated fairly. Now, if it was a man who was attacked by women, it would be, oh, yes, good job. But men would be laughed at. So I think Newt Gingrich, if that's the proper name, was wrong in the way he treated Megyn Kelly. And we need to ensure that in the future that these actions aren't counted out. It's okay that Trump walks away, but when his surrogates keep walking away from chats and that, then we have to really wonder. So, that's just my view on this topic. So sit back, relax, and we'll be right back with our second topic of the day. So, I don't know what it's going to be right yet. Right back. Okay, the fentanyl crisis. There was something else on global news about that today, and Sophie Louis was discussing with the premier about what to do. And, well, I never knew this. I always thought fentanyl was just something that was ground up, but pill presses seem to be part of the issue. And the premier said, she was. Let me turn here. Let me get a better light for you. Just came in from walking the dog, so. That pill presses, she was waiting on the federal government. Now, I think that was a weak answer. She could do a law until the federal government come in. Now, it would allow that if anyone was caught with the pill press in the province, that they would be arrested. But she is also right that the federal government needs to do something before, stopping the pill presses from getting into Canada. And, the Liberals just did a big year in office thing. But yet, when there's a health emergency about this, all levels of government need to do something. You know, people say, oh, well, kids will be kids and they're just experimenting. But drugs nowadays are so much more addictive than they were in the 60s. And, that's why we have drug cases against, what do we have? Against psychedelic drugs and pot. And, they asked about her son and has she done enough? And she said no, she hasn't. But she did mention that they were opening up more recovery beds. It's probably not enough recovery beds right now, but they have opened up more. And then she mentioned something that I think we'd have to watch to see if the government implements, and that is support. So often, addicts are treated, whether they're in for a medical problem, and, oh well, that person's doing better, all the symptoms, all the physical symptoms have gone, but they just discharge them and put them on the street. And personally, I don't think that is the answer. And I was happy to hear that her plans, that once they get out, that they have support. And, people say, oh, well, the 12-step program doesn't work. But at least the 12-step program has support built into it. And we need to ensure that the 12-step program works and has backup to it. So when the person's at home and, pressure gets to them or out in the street and they have to go back, we have to take care of them. Now, it's kind of like, how do I put it? Depression and that. They need to be able to get help. And it shouldn't matter what time of the day or night. I don't care if they call the nurse's hotline or, have someone that they can come to, have a sponsor. And that's what I think a lot of the 12 steps, you could argue over the steps themselves, saying they believe in God. And, well, that's fine, but at least they have they have a sponsor, and the sponsor can help them if they run into problems. And I think that's an awesome thing. Now, I don't care whether, the province steps in with a 12-step program type thing, but at least have a sponsor or an area clubs. I know for years I went with my dad to the Alano Club, and I know he's been doing an awful lot over his lifetime with that club, and that alcoholics have a place to go. And that's another support. Helping people get over the first time. Now, I can remember I knew someone who we were at her 1 year AA event, and there were people going around talking about this lady stepped up and said, I planned it. And I went out to a restaurant and I saw a waiter carrying a bottle of wine to a table, and that got me thinking. So, an everyday occurrence, they've got to have somewhere to go and help, someone to talk them through it and make it easier on them. And hearing that from Christy Clark, I think for people, Narcotics Anonymous maybe need to have clubs all through the province or areas where they could go, um, come up with sponsors or addicts or addicts who have worked through it. And sorry, my hair's still up. Oh, it looks terrible. I have to fix that before I go out today. Um, but I think that's the answer. I think in the past, if somebody's going through the recovery system, they go through the DTs and everything, and then they're let out on the street. And a lot of these people don't have places to go because they've alienated their families or they can't afford any place because all their money went to drugs. So we have to help them get back on their feet. And I mentioned this earlier, and I don't think I finished the thought, but if someone had a heart condition, oh, I'm so sorry you had the heart condition. Is there something I can do to help? If someone has mental illness or is recovering from drug addiction, it's the same. It should be the same, but it isn't. We all sit there and we all um, say things like, oh, well, that's bad, and we roll our eyes. But yes, the person made the decision, but then, sorry, I don't know what that is. Their bodies take over and like the sensation, so they get addicted. And while it's important that we take care of the initial problem, pill presses or anything, the ingredients, making the ingredients, though I think the ingredients are pretty easy to get, but the pill presses and anything other that they could make a law against, the federal government's got to get over, and it's got to be nationwide. Because this is a real emergency and people are dying. And, it was refreshing to hear the premier say that maybe she hasn't done enough, that, okay, we've got to take a look and see what best areas will work. So, I don't know what the answer is. Now, the NDP is going to say, oh, this should be done, this should be done, oh, there's not enough of this, there's not enough of that. Now, there's 500 new recovery beds. That may not be enough yet, but, any task force. And I think we've got to stop fighting all over this and get into action. I think all levels of government should be responsible. We need to ensure that people are taken care of, and drugs are just the same as any other addiction. And we all want to be quiet about it. Shh. Oh, he's addicted to drugs. Shh. And, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, they keep going, oh, we have to be quiet about it. Because they're afraid of what's going to happen out there in the real world. But I think it's time that we sort of say, enough is enough. People have an illness, and any other illness would be treatable. Now, it's not necessarily their fault. It could, yes, they probably made bad choice, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should just ignore it. And, fentanyl out there right now and the opiates are killing people, killing young people, killing old people. We need to open up and make sure we take care of these people and then get them off the drugs. That is the answer. And stop hiding behind, oh, they're just, you know, testing things out. You know how youngsters are. Well, that's going to kill them if we don't, as a society, do something. That's my thought. The federal government, the provincial government, and municipal levels all have to do something to ensure that we stop the killing with fentanyl or other drugs. Hi there. Well, CETA, I think it's pronounced CETA, the agreement with the European Union seems to have passed. Yay. Now, I could be totally wrong here, and this is just my hypothesis. Doesn't mean it's correct by any means, so don't go out there and, criticize it all. But I have to think that a lot of people who protest just have taken hearsay from the masses. Very few of these people actually read the documents or read about the issues. And I think we have to start, taking ownership of stuff. If you're going to go out there and you're going to protest, and I'm talking about the protests of CETA in Belgium, which everyone has the right, oh, sorry, that's my finger. Anyone has the right to protest. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. But so often, miscommunication gets passed around. And we constantly take a look and, the decision to voice our opinions are usually just from hearsay. And, we all go out and I can remember I know sixth grade is different than adulthood, but there was something about wage and price controls. And to tell you the truth, I just wanted a day off. And I wonder how much of this is actually being done out there in the real world. We have to stop and we have to make sure before we go out and protest, the one side or the other just want people out there. And I wonder how much of the information that is given is actually 100% truthful. How many times do they give documentation? Or it's true in Canada where people watch TV commercials, and that is how their information is forced. And it's always, leaning to the other side. Where a TV commercial comes on and they're going to try to get their big point across. And if the point across comes out that the other team loses, or however, that, oh, they're so great and they're always right, no one actually follows up and reads about it. They may listen and, it's all, oh, they're lying, oh, they're coming, they're making up stories. I don't think that's necessarily the case the whole time. I think people have to get out there and form their own opinions. But do we do that? No. We just kind of sit back and choose our own sides, and that's it. So, get out there, make a formed decision for yourself. Don't just go by what a TV commercial says. Anyway, have a great day, and we'll be back with our closing thoughts. Now, we need to be kind to one another, and I know that's what Ellen says, and yes, I'm stealing it from Ellen. But you really should try to do nice to someone else. We're going to be ending off the year very shortly. In a few days, it'll be November, and then we go 2 days until Christmas. 2 days, sorry, 2 months until the Christmas season is upon us. So, get out there, just do some random acts of kindness. Something to think about. Random acts of kindness don't have to cost a lot. You can watch videos where people do just random acts of kindness. So get out there and do something. Have a great day. Bye.